Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you didn't know, my name is Smitty. If you're a new subscriber, thanks for stopping by. If you're an existing subscriber, thank you so much for continuing support. Hey, we're continuing our teardown on the 4L80E. We've got half of it tore down, and I showed you some stuff to look for on it. So now we're going to tear down the upper half of it, basically from the center support up, and show you what to look for on it. Plus you'll see some carnage. So hey, if you like what you see, make sure and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you get all the latest videos, and make sure and smash that like button. It helps us a bunch. Also, I've started an Instagram page. I'm not any social butterfly. I'm old, so it's kind of tough to teach an old dog new tricks, but I'm learning. Anyway, it's I'll put it down at the bottom here somewhere. It's IROC-Z 87, and check it out. Post something on there, that'd be great. I'm trying to get in more contact with y'all, and some other things I'm kind of working on, but I'll let you know when they come about. So anyway, let's get set up and we'll get going on this thing. All right, we're going to start with this direct clutch, which the direct clutch is also known as your third gear. So this is just an intermediate shaft that comes out, and as you see, it's got a Teflon or a nylon thrust washer. So I just leave it on there because it goes right on top of here. That protects the next component that goes against it. So anyway, just set that off to the side. Okay, this one, as you can see by the color, this is one of the ones that's burnt up, and you can see I just wiped that off right there. So to start with getting this thing out, take this, there's a snap ring goes around the outside, and there's a you have to get underneath of it, get behind it in one of those grooves and pop it up. Then you can just kind of walk it off, kind of like that. Then the easiest way to get this thing out is just to flip it upside down, and that'll pull all your clutches out. And if you notice this bottom one, this one here, if you look at it sideways, I don't know if you can see it there, but it's actually what they call a wave plate. It's not completely, you can see it in the light reflection there. It's not exactly flat. That's a spring plate. You might be able to see it a little bit there. Kind of hard to see with the black background, but anyway, that always goes towards your bottom, towards your piston. Your piston's right in here. So leave that off the side. Now, the color of this is not correct. This is because it's been really hot, and you can see little spots on it. If it'll focus on that, that's where it's actually boiled the fluid on it. That clutch has been that hot. And if you look at this side, you can see all the hot spots in it. You don't want to reuse these plates. When they've been that hot, it'll cause the clutch to chatter. Even though it's a wet clutch, it'll still chatter. Now the fibers, they really don't look too terribly bad, except they're really dark right here on the outside. Again, what that does is that cures, and yeah, right there you can see, I don't know if you can see that or not, get it right there in the light. That's where a piece of it's actually started to flake off. So these fibers aren't going to be any good either. And I mean, it just continues with each one of these steels because you got alternate steel and a fiber plate. Now if you look at this one, that's kind of interesting. It's almost like well, I would say all the ribs have been worn off of this one, but I think somebody's been into this transmission and put this in there. Because that doesn't look like a normal 4L80 friction. And you can see this one's delaminating and the clutch material's coming off of it, so it's junk. Again, you get burn marks all over these steel plates, another fiber. These are what the fibers are supposed to look like in this clutch plate. They're supposed to be identical on all of them. The fact that that one's got that weird one in it leads me to believe that somebody's been in it at one time. Maybe they tried to patch it together. Well, I know somebody'd been in it because the valve body has got Transtech, which is a company that makes some rebuild kits for automatics, and that's got their label all over it. But basically this clutch is worn out. And again, I mean, this is a real good one. This is a real good example of a burnt one. Look at all the burn marks on that dude. But now the pressure plate on this, I would replace this pressure plate too, and I probably will on this one, because even if you surface that, there's still going to be hot spots in it. There's still a chance that it can be warped, and you don't want to do that on one of these, just like you wouldn't do it on just a regular clutch. Automatic's no different. It's just that it's got a bunch of wet clutches in it versus one dry clutch and a bunch of wet gears. So that one's done. Alright, to get your spring out, there's a snap ring right there in the center. You have to compress this spring enough that you can get that snap ring out, then you can pull it out. So we'll use this dude again. The good thing about this thing is it's pretty adjustable. Alright, get your snap ring where you can get at it. And just press it down far enough that you can get your snap ring out. That'll be good there. Sometimes if your snap ring pliers won't let you do it, you'll have to go down a little further. So you can grab both sides of that snap ring. Let's see if I got a different pair of snap ring pliers here. These got a little bit of a tip on it, but they're way too big to get in there. There we go. Once it's up over the groove, you can work it around just kind of like you did the other one, and there you go. And there's your spring plate. Now I'm going to tell you, I've seen some guys do some weird things with these spring plates. I've seen them take every other spring out to make a quicker apply. Here's the problem. If it doesn't have enough spring pressure in it, it will cause the piston to stay partially, well, I wouldn't say partially engaged, but you can get in a deal where it actually applies the clutch hydraulically just by spinning, and then all you gotta do is, and then so it'll end up burning up the clutch. So to get your piston out, all you do is grab a hold of it and pull it out, just like that. Now this one here is a molded piston. Now most of the time when you get a rebuild kit, it will not come with these molded pistons, so you have to order them separate. And it's got a seal already molded on the outside, and there's a seal molded here in the center. They're both lip seals, so if you look at them real close, you can see that this thing has got like a little lip there and a lip there, and when the fluid pressure pushes against that, it causes that lip to force out, and that's what makes the seal. And then that's it. Got a little bit of fluid down in there. And that's it on the direct clutch portion. Now on the back side, you've got your sprag. Now if you see this thing, the way the sprag works is it rotates, this one rotates clockwise, but it won't rotate counterclockwise. That's the way it's designed. And now you got to remember that, because if you take it apart and you get it in the wrong deal, the clutch, or the wrong way, the clutch won't even work. The sprag will come apart. This has got a different type of snap ring, and it's an overlapping one. If you look right here, there's where the spring comes apart. It comes apart, it's kind of like a spiral lock on a piston. If you all have ever done a spiral lock on a piston, they're a little more difficult to get out. But once you get it started, it just spirals off. Kind of like that. And if you see, this thing is kind of like a slinky. Well, I'm showing my age if I'm talking about slinkies. But, you know, see, it's kind of like a spring. That's the type of lock it is. Then just pull your sprag off, like that. Now these have wear guards that go on the inside of the sheet. The sprag is just nothing but a bunch of fingers. This will come out either, so you get these wear plates on either side. Well, that one's got quite a bit of wear on it, but it's alright. You got another wear plate there, and then your sprag. Pay attention to which way you took this off, and if you look, the gear is different on both sides. And if you're unsure about it, you can put it back on there and you can tell which way that comes off. So remember, it rotated clockwise, so if you try to put this on there and you can't get it to go on, chances are you got it going the wrong way. So anyway, just remember when you put this thing back together that this needs to rotate clockwise, and look at your top here to make sure you know. Now see, this one here has got an easy way to tell is if you tell there's a spot on there that's lighter than the rest. That's because this plate sits right on top of it, and this plate goes up, so you can tell that that's how the sprag went. And basically that's it. There's no bushings in this one. There's just a set of teeth. And being as this is a steel component, usually it won't have too bad. The only thing to look at is in here where the clutches ride. You want to make sure that there's not a lot of sharp teeth. Like this one here could use a little bit of refinement. You can feel it with your finger, it's a little rough. And that's because that's where the clutches ride. You want your clutches to be able to slide as smooth as possible in these drums. Here's one that's pretty bad over here. Probably what I'll do is I'll take a little file, and you want to do this by hand, but just to clean them up so the clutches don't stick on them. It'll make the transmission work that much more efficient. Alright, that's it for that one. Now we're going to go to the other carnage. Here's your forward clutch. This here is another clutch housing. This one goes inside the direct. That's what these clutches here spline into, is right here. So this comes off as a unit. So same thing, it's got a snap ring in it. Just get behind your snap ring, pop that dude up and out. Just like that, and then that piece will come off. Now this one's really bad. You can see that this top hat has been pretty hot. Different colors, all sorts of clutch material on it. This clutch still has some fiber on it, but not much. This steel is shot, and you can still see there's clutch material on that. You can pull the center housing out all together. Now this is something you really don't want to see. The clutches are actually stuck on there, so this may take some effort to get these off, if they're even salvageable. We'll just work at it one by one. This used to be a clutch plate. There is no material left on that. That one's completely gone. That's a steel. You can tell it smeared the clutch on there, and that's really blue right there. Basically what I'm doing is I'm getting in between two steels and twisting the screwdriver. That was a steel. Pretty bad. Now this one got so bad it actually broke one of the teeth off of the steel right here. There's supposed to be a tooth right there and it's gone. Okay, there is a clutch and a steel welded together on that one. And you can see all the carnage right there. It's pretty bad. I don't know that I can get this one apart. Well, yep, there we go. That used to be a fiber clutch. In other words, it used to have clutch material on it. As you can see, there's nothing left of it. That steel is actually grinding on the inside, so it's junk. Alright, we got that off. This might clean up. It's got some pretty substantial grooves in it from the clutches. If you look right here on these right here, you can see the shiny spots. That's where the clutches were riding, and you can kind of see it all the way around. The actual piece of metal there. Okay, and the bottom of this is another wave plate. Probably easier. And there's a brass thrust washer. There we go. The wave plate doesn't have any wave to it anymore. It's pretty much flat. So it's also junk. The same thing applies to this one as the direct clutch. There's a spring right in there you got to take off, and then you can pull the piston out. Guys, if you're doing one of these and you've had one that's been that hot, don't try to save a buck and not replace the pistons. Even though they're molded, just get them. It's not worth having to go into it twice, because you've got one that's been this hot. It brittles, it makes those seals so brittle that you're just asking for problems. Alright, this one's being a little bugger, so I'm gonna press this the spring down a little bit further. Oh, it almost came out that time. There we go. One snap ring. I'll show you what makes this kind of a booger to get out, but they do it for a reason. Too bad there's not smell-o-vision, because if you could smell this thing, whew, it's pretty bad. If you notice on the inside of it, there's these humps there, and basically what that is to make sure that once you get the snap ring in there, it stays in there. It doesn't go flying out. Alright, once you got that out, just reach in there and pull your piston out. like that. Here's the prime reason why I tell you to replace the piston. Look at that. The dude's been so hot, it boiled the rubber on that seal. And it's all dilapidated. This one's actually made by National. It's got a National name on it. In fact, there's the part number for it right there. But you can see the waviness in that seal. Yeah, it's not supposed to look like that. And here's a spot where it's broke off. I mean, just replace it. That thing has been cooked beyond cooked. Now this one has another seal right down here that you also need to replace. And if I'm not mistaken, that might actually be part of this housing. But you can tell that seal's on the inside of this right here. And you got another thrust washer here that, well, it's not a thrust washer, it's a needle bearing. You got some bushings on the inside here. Okay. I did a little research. I'm gonna end up trashing these gloves, but I do need some gloves on. I did a little research on this Ford clutch piston, this one here, and it's what I remember. If this seal isn't tore up, then it's reusable. If it's got nicks or scores in it, or if it's cut in any way, then the only way you can fix it is you replace the housing. I'm sure there's a way you could get that off of there if the aftermarket would supply a piston for that. But you'd have to be able to get some way to press on this. You couldn't press on the lip, obviously, but you'd have to be able to have some way to press it back on there because it's an interference fit. So I will probably see if I can get this housing. With that being said, that's going to do it for today's video. If I keep going on it, these videos are going to be so extremely long, and I want to be able to show you guys in depth. You know, there's people out there that do these that just blow through it. Maybe they'll make an hour or two video of it, and you'll never see the details. The details are what's important. You've got to know the details. So that's part of my theory on it. I want you to know as much as you can, because it gives you more knowledge into understanding and how to rebuild it properly, how to make things work without somebody just blowing through it and throwing it together and saying, oh, well, this is how it's done. No, I'd rather show you in depth. If it makes the video a little boring, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. It's the way these videos are made. But I feel you'll get a better knowledge of it when you're done doing it this way. So we're going to stop there, make this one video. The next one, I'm going to go through the overdrive housing, and we'll get into the pump. And hopefully you'll learn some more there. So I hope you liked what you seen today. If you did, make sure and subscribe. Hit that like button. Share it with as many people as you can. Hit the notification bell so you get all the latest updates for when I post new videos. And I thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. God bless you all, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.